decision, a daring choice, right? And no one will do it for you except you. So no one is going to speak on your behalf that, oh, this person has potential, this person should switch. Sometimes we are blessed with line managers and leaders that can tell that this person is meant for more and will tell you about it. Sometimes, in fact, nowadays, many people don't care anymore. Everybody's busy in their own circle, right? So nobody really pays that keen and close attention to someone else anymore. So you own your growth and you are responsible for your decisions. I'm sure that in this room we have mothers, so we don't have um, carefree young people. We have people who understand decisions and can own up and are responsible for their decisions. Okay, so fast forward to when I switched into QA. I was thrown into an ocean. How many of us have read Guru 99 or have gone through Guru 99 when we, yeah. So you know the way there's always a hyperlink. When you finish this page, there's a link to another page and it continues like that. There are like links to like God knows how many pages. And it felt like I was just dumped into an ocean. I remember several months after I said to myself one day I was coming back from, I said, Demi, are you sure this decision was a good decision? Are you sure? Are you sure you made the right decision? Because it meant there was you'd enter, and the good thing, another good thing was because of the nature of the organization, it meant QAs from different business units would come together, I think once a week or sometimes in a month, to have like a QA meeting, right? So you'll be in those meetings and they're seeing different buzzwords and you are intimidated that what is this one again? What are they doing on the screen? Right? And you're a bit confused. And those times one of those times that I'm coming back when I was like, am I sure I made the right decision? But I'd already made the decision, there was no turning back. So I said it's either I learn it or I learn it, because at that time there was no other option for me. Yeah, so that was how I remember APIs. I remember how I learned about APIs. I'd been hearing it in QA meetings, but I didn't quite get it. Like today I would think I think I understand what it is. And it was in a cab ride from Ikeja to my office that just that morning on my way to work, I just said, let me even know what this thing is. And then I stumbled on an article and I read it, and within those few minutes in the ride, by the time I was dropping in front of the office, I had a good understanding of what APIs were. And sometimes it takes those extra time because, like I said, I just had a set of twins. It wasn't like I had so much time. We're newly married at that time. So once it was either I did my learnings in transit, because by the time you get home, there's already two new babies that have not seen you since morning. They have a family to take care of, and also, and then you are going to work the next time. This was all pre-COVID, where remote work and all of those things, it was a distant feature. So I'm mentioning this because most of us on the call might have made the transition at a different time, and things might have been maybe pretty easier, or there were more opportunities and more options. Regardless of what the journey is, it will take your grit and resilience and your determination to carve out any path that you would like to take. And as mothers, we owe it to ourselves, right? As mothers, we feel we're responsible for everyone. We're responsible for our children. We're responsible for having time for them. We're responsible for being the good wife who can make out time for both family, both children, husband, and still do maternal work, right? We hold ourselves responsible for those things, and sometimes in doing that, we put ourselves in the back seat. A couple of weeks ago, I was speaking to some others also, and I said, how many of us actually plan for ourselves? Like, you've already the way we plan for sprints, right? There's sprint planning, and then there's the actual sprint, and then there's a retrospective on the sprint. The way we take time to plan for that project, that feature, that fix, do we plan for ourselves that same way? Do we start the year? A lot of times, yes, December, January. Okay, this is how the cycle happens, and Mary is one of them that tensioned me in 2014 with a list of achievables. So this is how the cycle goes. By December, you see everybody posting. November, December, you see everybody posting. Oh, this was the list of things I achieved this year. I had X number of events. I had the X number of certificates. I traveled X number of countries. You get all that tension. It happens around that December into January period, right? Then January starts with everybody saying, I set these goals, I set that goals. There's another series of tensioning that happens first quarter of the new year, right? In all this tensioning, how many of us actually in those goals set out time and planned for ourselves as mothers? We plan for the children. We plan. Sometimes we don't even plan. We freestyle it. We say, okay, we know when they'll be on long vacation. We probably have planned an activity they'll do during long vacation. We probably have planned something around. Maybe your husband is traveling out, and then you want to plan his trip and all of that. But in those planning, how many times do we plan for ourselves? Sometimes to even make our hair is like an afterthought after everybody else has made their hair. That's when we now think we should make our hair. You get it's as simple as that. Is in those simple details. Do we tend to remember ourselves after we've sorted everyone out, and just the way like your projects, your sprints. There's a planning phase. There's the actual delivery phase or execution phase, which is the sprint itself. And then there's the retrospective afterwards, where you are supposed to go through what you did well, what you didn't do well, how you can be better. The same thing applies to you as a mother, right? Plan your year, box it into sprints, right? And in planning for every other person, put yourself in the plan also, right? I explained this also in the other call that it might look like a lot, and trust me, it would be a lot, but there's some safety nets that you can create for yourself. One of which is having a support system. Do you have a trusted sibling that you have the same shared beliefs? Because it's very important. It's not just, do you have someone you can drop your children at, or do you have someone that your children can go to holiday for? No. You share the same beliefs. You know they have rules concerning certain things that are similar to yours. You have the same belief, whether you're both Christians or you're both Muslims, or you have the same belief and understanding towards children's exposure to the internet. You have shared beliefs, right? And you can rotate things. So plan the year knowing the periods where your children would have short-term breaks, long-term breaks, what would happen during those periods. Don't just freestyle it. We all work in tech. We don't we don't go into the project. We're going to build an app, and then we freestyle it. No, we plan it. We even dedicate resources and roles to planning, right? To getting the requirements together, to getting a design, to see what it looks like before we actually start the development work. Same thing applies to our lives as tech moms, as women working in tech. There are lots of things that will pull you, but setting those plans and those structures in place will help. Then it's sometimes it's going to be easy, and other times it's going to require extra work. I think at this point maybe I should go through my slide so that I'm not just rambling, but I hope um I hope the story helps a person or two. Essentially, um sorry, I don't know why it's not moving or this is not the beginning. Okay. Right. So essentially, women wear many hats. I know they'll say the same about men, but especially women in Africa were expected to be carers, be mothers, show compassion, be resilient, be strict when disciplined, be soft and vulnerable when with our spouses. We're expected to do many things at the same time, and sometimes it can be a burden, right? But it's what makes us who we are. We have that innate ability to, right? And whenever it's something that is overwhelming, you can always reach out for help. So yeah, we are not helpless. We're not also helpless. We have examples of strong, really strong, resilient, determined women and that have not completely because I'm very careful to push the all strong women, resilient women, and fall into feminism. No, I'm not speaking about feminism here. I'm feeling about women who are confident in being vulnerable, who are confident in being decisive at the same time, and who know how to balance it. Not that you're completely ramble and forget that you should be a mother, right? So the strength is in knowing the balance, right? Okay, so enough of that. Um, so yeah, there are many struggles we face as mothers in tech. Most times we are the minority in the minority. And what do I mean by that? If you check women in tech, I think now the numbers are even getting better because we have we have a lot of organizations that are actively working at pushing more women into tech. So the numbers are going up and are getting better, right, compared to many years ago. So we're a minority, meaning women in tech is a small number. Then mothers, in that number of women, the number of mothers is another minority. So that's what I mean by a minority in minority. You see, you probably worked in an organization where you see another young lady like you, maybe who is not yet married, who doesn't have any kids, doing times two of what you're doing or times three of what you're doing. You're just wishing that you can just take 1 year to be unmarried or to be to be without a child. Sometimes that thought pops up so that you can deliver 4x because you know the type of strength you have. If it's not that I'm a mother, if the things I would have done, I would have thought that way, right? So yeah, there's that, but there are ways to still deliver without losing yourself, right? In that order, and we'll be looking into some of them. Then the double shift, the shift of being a carer, that's being a mother, being a wife, and then the shift of being a boss at work. Sometimes it might be the shift. Sometimes it might take a while to get used to, right? Um, but it's non-negotiable. It's something you would have to do at a point in time, especially if you're it's something you would have to sort out. And some of those of how to sort out, so we'll look at. And then the mental load, most times we think of everyone else and then we think of ourselves last. So our hygiene, our feeding, I've seen myself doing that a lot of the recently, thinking of everyone else and then sorting myself after as little as food. sorting yourself after everybody. You are sure everybody is sorted. Sometimes there's that mental load that comes with that. Okay, so how do we navigate this? Some suggestions on how to navigate this challenge with African women. Time management and boundaries. Like I said, you're going into a new year. Consider it a 4 sprint year. Each quarter represents a sprint. Plan for it, right? That's what the whole goal setting and exercise that we do towards the start of a new year or towards the end of the new year is. Just like you set plan for your sprints, do the same thing with yourself and include yourself in this planning. I wish I could tell a lady next to you, include yourself in the planning because it's very important. Including yourself in the plan helps you achieve things more. So, how? In those quarters, there would be midterm breaks, there would be long Easter break, one holiday or the other. There are usually breaks in between, right? So that it doesn't look like the break just fell upon you. When you plan for those things, factoring in your own development, you would know the time when it's advisable for you to register for a certification. You would know a time when you think it's not the best time for you to read for a certification. So, what do I mean? I explained this better in the other session. So, if you've set a plan for your year that you want to get ISTGB CTFL certified this year, and in planning that, you probably need to pick a date that you will write the exam, right? In picking that date, it would not make logical sense to choose to write the exam right after a midterm break, or sorry, not a midterm break, a vacation. Because in that vacation period, except you've made another plan that your children will probably stay over somewhere else, or there's an activity you've engaged them in, you won't have the time to read for the exam. You won't have the time to revise for the exam, right? So it's just logical that once you have the full calendar of the family, including you can then use that to set your goals for the year, right? So if the first 2 quarters are very busy and there are a lot of family engagements, then it makes logical sense that you would set your learnings or set your certification goals to the later part of the year, right? When you know there's a structure that would help you prepare for that. I know I'm not doing great justice in explaining this, but see it this way. You want to learn JavaScript this year, right? And you want to learn it by Q2, before Q2. So you've checked out resources that you would need. You checked out practice questions that you would need. You have everything, right? So you need to space it out in order to figure out how you'll be able to achieve that goal by Q2. And in between Q2, there's a burial, or there's a party, or two people in the family are getting married. There's a lot of activities, right? And you know that there will be a lot of activities. Will it make logical sense to still set out to achieve XYZ things within that quarter when there's a lot of activities? Will it?
No.
It most likely would not make logical sense to do that. So, while you can create a workaround for it, meaning your nights, you spend more nights, you sleep less, you spend more time at night, or you leave work a bit earlier, or you pick up having to study in transit, if you're not driving, or you pick up another coping mechanism. Your life should not rely on coping. That's essentially what I'm trying to say. Your life should rely on a structured plan that you've set aside. And as great as planning the year ahead or planning how you would spend your time is, it's also open for change. I like to say this a lot. You are not a tree. You can move. If something's not working, if you know this schedule is not working, try to reshuffle. Try to shuffle things. Okay, so if you had said, I want to learn JavaScript now, you know that requires, I'm just citing examples, that requires a lot of your mental knowledge, like focus and all for you, consistency and focus, and you know you don't have that time now. You can move the goal that you set for maybe towards the end of the year up, if that would not require the same mental focus that learning JavaScript would require of you. So be free to adjust when it is necessary. I spoke about the power of introspection. And I was speaking of how no two mothers are the same. Most times, I want to believe that we don't do that here, where we compare ourselves with other mothers, right? No two mothers are the same. That's one thing you should first know. You are not the same. You may have two children, like Mrs. A has two children. Are the two children both under 2 years old? Mrs. A's children are probably 10 and 12, and yours are both under 3. You are not in the same, don't compare, right? It's unhealthy for you. There's already so much against you. Don't do that. And even if you're comparing yourself with someone who has the same number of kids as you, maybe the same age range, they're not the same. There's no two children are the same. One can be able to brush their teeth very well, and the other one is struggling with it, right? Do an introspection and don't compare yourself, right? Then create an avenue to identify what you need part time. If your goals require that you get extra time personally, then you need to create or find a buffer that would avail you of that extra time. So, what do I mean? If you are going to do a number of boot camps and they say it's intensive, sometimes when you read an advert and they say it's intensive, please just believe them, right? Don't just say you freestyle it. Mothers, we freestyle, go run them. We are like 5 and 6. Don't freestyle it. So if you know you have set out to do 2 boot camps that are intensive, for you to have that time and to succeed and not crash out of those programs, you need to create a structure that would absorb the time you would be dedicating for those boot camps. And what are these structures? For me, when I was back in Nigeria, was support system and having parents around and telling them, oh, this period, and it happens most times for church, this period we're having a retreat at church, or we're having a series of outreaches. I will not be, wow, I talk a lot. It's showing 15 minutes. I will not be around. I will not be available. I would need the children to come around more. Maybe this holiday they spend the first 2 weeks with you, then they spend the next ones with my elder sister and all. So for me to do that, it means I need to drop funds. I need to drop food money for them to buy food and all of that and sort it out. But it comes with planning, and you are not frustrating yourself by thinking I'm super mom. I can watch over the children, and I can do this intensive class, and I can do my job, and I can cook in the house, and I can clean the house, and you're not trying to kill yourself. You're creating buffer for you to be able to succeed with that plan you set out for yourself. So it can be as simple as that. All right, so because of time, I'll just rush through. So time management and boundaries, set your plans just as you do for sprints, set it out. reduce the mental pressure. Am I good enough? Am I as good as my neighbor? She's doing better than me. That thing that you are doing is not helping anybody. It's not helping you, and your neighbor probably doesn't know you're comparing yourself with her, or she's probably comparing herself with you. That thing you're doing mentally is of no use to you. So just drop it. Okay. That's to the mental load part. Unforeseen circumstances to to yes, you may not know that an uncle will die or something will happen, right? And you probably did not plan or foresee that in when you were planning for the year. But creating avenues where those buffers that I mentioned, where there's a trusted family member that you can go to, where there is a leave that you have available that you can utilize, where there is a timeout, a place where you can go to that avails you that buffer period. Create those systems in place, right? You are not super mom. You need other people, but you have to be careful. Other people with the same beliefs, with the same rules, with the same care that you have. Find those people and commit to them. By committing, this is what I mean. You don't just show up when you have a need. You also be there for them when they have a need. So this is a practical way. The way my other sister loves to have my children over for the holiday. She loves it. But I also don't want to be a burden for her. Right. So we structure it in a particular way. She takes them for the long vacation because then at that time there's longer time, right? And so they will have more time. Then I host them for the shorter breaks. Because of that simple system of everybody in the house, all the kids are away for the long vacation. And the long vacation is a long time. I can then plan to write a certification at that time. You see how that planning and structure works hand in hand. Because I know that by this period, from this week to this week, the children will be this time of the month, the children will be away. So I can be preparing for the certification and I can be preparing for those things ahead of that time because I know I will have a free 2-3 weeks of a quiet house that I can use to attack a particular project, right? That will not be possible if I didn't have that structure, if I didn't have a family friend, if I didn't have a structure, a system in place. So, by it requires two people. You also a support system to someone, and you also have a support system. As mothers, it's not possible for you not to continue without having that support system. It's not possible. If we look at the MDs, the CEOs, the great women that you see in public limelight, they have support system because they are not coming to those events with their children a ton of the time. And where are the children if they are always in the face of the media? It means that there's a support system that they are servicing. By servicing, meaning you are dedicating. If there's a younger sister you have, the younger sister is not just come and watch over my children. If you see an opportunity that you think will be best for that younger sister, send her the link, enroll her for a course. You are investing, you are servicing that relationship, right? Don't just be the big sister that is always asking. Be the big sister that is also giving. If you have aged mom and parents that are helping to take care of the children when you have to go for that retreat, that company, this thing, also service them. Book a HMO for them, a HMO plan. I'm telling you practical things that you can do, right? It's just the same way we hear of horror stories with nannies. Same way with your service system. I know those relationships don't compare nanny and parents or other support system, right? But in similar fashion, if you are expecting them to be there for you, you also need to be there for them, right?
Yeah.
I hope you completely understand that part. Okay, so I'll just move on quickly. So where does one role end and where does the other begin? I think this is for people who have issues with boundaries. Most times you hear different women deal with this in different ways. Some will say they don't take work home. Some will say they don't bring home to work. essentially knowing where to draw the line is very important, right? You also don't want to be the employee at work that is always complaining about um, a family need or a family emergency. You are the family emergency person, right? You want to be able to draw the line um, as much as possible. And it's those structures that I mentioned earlier on that is going to help you draw the lines. Some of the strategies that I use outside of structured planning and planning, just like you plan sprints, planning for your quarters, planning, um, planning for self care, planning for planning for yourself, your family, and all. Outside of that, I think one thing that could help others on this call is this Eisenhower metrics. You don't have to do everything. You don't have to be the one to clean, to cook, to wash, to do everything. And these things differ based on phases. So if you have younger kids, beloved, you have to do it. I'm so sorry. Younger kids and you don't have any maybe family member, your husband doesn't have any family member, a new town, new city, I'm so sorry. This phase or this part of the sprint means that you have to do a lot of those things by yourself. But if you have older kids or kids that are entering into that phase where they can wash plates and they can do those things, your job at the early stage is to teach them how, show them how, right? And then give them those responsibilities, delegate it, oversee, delegate, and trust them with more responsibilities, right? So the Eisenhower matrix helps you do that, helps you categorize what is urgent, what is not urgent, what you can delegate, and what you should just. It's not everything. You are not Superman. It's not everything that you should handle, everything you should do. So, what you should delete, right? So, because of time, I won't go much into that. So, essentially, this matrix helps you to separate what is important from what's not important, what should be done now, and what can be scheduled for later, what you don't have to do that someone else can handle well, and something you don't need to do at all. You can just check out Eisenhower's metrics for more information on that. So, the powers of mothers in tech. Mothers have certain key traits that we bring into any sector, whether it's in tech or outside. We have an innate nurturing ability. We know how to multitask. We know the importance of time. So all those things, those elements don't just matter when you are changing diapers and when you are going shopping and when you are making your children's hair and when you are planning on a budget on how to stock the house. All those skills also apply to work, right? They are all transferable skills, and those are powers and things that mothers bring into the room. The same way, I don't know if you've been on a call or in a meeting where everyone is saying this cannot work, and you're seeing and you're wondering what are these people talking about. Tax A is like is you see in tax A you changing diapers and you see tax B you trying to feed your young one, you see in tax C you trying to keep them engaged while you're trying to study, and you see how you do it. You've been doing it for 3 years and you're wondering what are these people talking about, right? That's something that we bring to the table. So we're multitaskers. The problem is when we don't know how to draw the line, right? But we are naturally multitaskers. We naturally have an innate care and concern that we bring into the team, right? There's no brashness, right? Because we are nurturers, we are carers, right? Yeah, so those are some of the traits we can bring in. Because of time, I say we have 3 minutes. So I've already spoken about building a supportive ecosystem. Starting from home, have a trusted circle that you can invest in and support, right? That you service, right? And that can create those buffer times for you to also dream and do things and achieve your goals. So having that support system is important for any successful mother. And I know we are all successful mothers. Having that support system is crucial. Taking time to introspect and not compare yourself is very, very important. Servicing the support systems also critically important. Planning realistically, factoring everybody or everything, including yourself. Don't leave yourself out. And then plan it against those free times, those spare times, right? So that you are setting up yourself for a success and not for a failure. Because when you blind your eyes to how crowded a particular season is and you go and set a serious goal for that time, you're only setting yourself up for failure. So, and finally, celebrate your success. I think a mentor of mine once said, have a brag sheet. I think that advice came very late because I'd achieved many things in the earlier part of my career and I didn't have evidence for them. As mothers, I think it's something you should leave this call with. Have a brag sheet. It can be a Google Doc where you document your wins, no matter how small they are. Because there will be times when you don't believe in yourself. There'll be times when you are full of doubt. There'll be times when you just want to quit. You're tired. Going through that brag sheet makes you know this is the same Euphemia that did this. I'm the same person. I've not changed, so I can do it again. It makes you remember if I was able to take a salary slash before and I achieved all of this, I should be able to dare again and push myself again, right? The brag sheet reminds you of who you are, reminds you of what you've achieved, sends a reminder that you can do more. So if you don't have a brag sheet of your achievements, I think today is a good day to start that. It would be your mental cheerleader. It would be what would cheer you on those days when you feel inadequate, because those days will come. All right, so let me leave this 1 minute that is left
I believe
for
Favor
my
helped the
host.
youth. I
Thanks,
didn't have his
everyone.
number, but I asked Favor if she did. She said yes. So, Favor, I don't know if you're able to get to him.
The tech eagle, are you here? You're on mute. I know I've spent all the time
Oh
in the.
wow. Wow, wow, wow. Please, can we give a round of applause to our speaker today? I know that just like me, a lot of us are going home with a lot, with one or two. For me, I don't have a brag sheet, and I mean, I would just go and get one after this call, right? Along amongst every other thing. So yeah, let's give a round of applause. Thank you so much. You see why I said when you're coming to sections where she's talking, carry your pen and paper and get ready to learn. Thank you so much for this wonderful section. It really speaks to our pain points as women, thriving families and careers, ladies, and these soon to be moms too. We're also learning, and they're also learning, right? And preparing ahead of time. At least they are lucky they got there as earlier than we do. So thank you very much for this section. Thank you so much. So while we are here, if you have any question, quickly drop it on the chat, or you can just unmute yourself and ask any question you would have.